So, your assignment this week, if you choose to accept it, is to write a review, which is to say a critical assessment of the film Clockwork Orange. I have hopefully clearly let you know that you don't have to watch the film. If it's violent, there is depictions of sexual assault and brutality and cruelty. Uh, so if you would like to skip it and do another assignment with a work of art that is not as disturbing, I will provide you with an alternative assignment with no questions asked whatsoever, which does bring up the question why I would use such a film at all as an example. And after all, it's just an example. That is, I have nothing to say in this video about A Clockwork Orange, except I think that it is a serious contender for a work of art. But there's plenty of serious contenders for works of art. Films, paintings, poems, novels, statues. We could have used any example. Why did I choose this? Well, one of the reasons is that I rewatched the film lately. And secondly, I think that it raises certain interesting questions which are good for argument. Now, first of all, we're arguing, last week we were talking about Socrates, and we'll do that. That is, we'll dip into famous philosophers and look at arguments, arguing with Socrates, arguing with St. Anselm, arguing with Bertrand Russell, etc. And those are just sort of select, compact arguments from one of their works, which I think are easily understood in a week or so, and deal with specific issues. But you'll see that the other weeks we'll be looking at different areas of, I don't know, life and thought, and looking at arguments in politics, in ethics, in science. This would be our aesthetics, arguing about art. Aesthetics is the study of art, philosophical inquiry into the nature of art, into the nature of the beautiful, what makes something a good work of art or doesn't. And that's what I really want to do this week, or I'd like you to do this week, is to watch this film, again, if you choose to do so, and then read the criticism of it that I have provided, and then to write a critical assessment, taking into consideration the other critical assessments you've read, but really mainly your own take on whether or not this is actually a good work of art. There are also some study questions or assessment questions which I'd like you to finish too. It's an ungraded assignment. But I'd like you to do those and think about those, and the answers to those questions could certainly shape or be included in some way in your essay. Okay, that would be fine. Those questions are meant to get you thinking about the film, and perhaps in a certain way, because again, the reason I chose this particular film is because I think there is a lot to argue about. Again, I won't say anything about the film, the content of the film. That's for you to discover and to determine for yourself. But I will tell you that I've seen this film a number of times over decades, and sometimes when I watched it, I thought it was a terrible piece of junk, and sometimes when I watched it, I thought it was a great work of art. There are very few, well, there are some, but there are very few films or works of art in general, or purported works of art, that you have that sort of experience with. So I thought there was a lot to argue about. The film does raise certain issues about what makes good art, and certain things need to be addressed, because of course there are just some terrible, just terrible things in this film, and depicted. They're not real, they didn't really happen, but they're depicted in this film. So there's very much open territory. I mean, don't worry, if you say that this film is junk, that it's terrible, you'll see that Roger Ebert, who was actually quite a good movie reviewer at his time, became more of a celebrity later on, but it was always a good movie, good newspaper movie reviewer. He hated the movie and thought it was junk. Others have said that it's one of the greatest movies of all time, and maybe they're both right. I don't know. That's really a question. So this film is something to argue about. It's not like, showing you a picture of the Sistine Chapel and saying, is it good? I mean, we all sort of know that Sistine Chapel is good, or that Beethoven's Seventh Symphony is good. This is a more live issue. I know it's a film that's, over 40 years old now, 1971. But it's still something that people argue about. It's still an open question about whether it's actually a good film, whether it's actually a quality, important work of art or not. I don't know. That's why I gave it to you. So again, the larger issues I'd like you to think about: art, reasoning in art. Can you actually argue, and you'll have to try to argue, that something is good or bad successfully? Is it all a matter of subjective opinion? Are there any criteria that something has to fulfill to be a true work of art or a good work of art? Are there bad works of art and good works of art? Are bad works of art not works of art? I mean, there's all sorts of questions here that are just really fascinating philosophical questions. But when it comes down to it, again, the focus is argumentation. The focus is coming up with arguments to support claims, assessing the arguments of others, and using arguments to find truth. I mean, that's really what the class is what logic is about, what we do with reasoning. So what you really need to do is to watch the film, again, if you choose to do so. If you don't, again, there's an alternative assignment, which is pretty similar. It's just that you'll be looking at something different. To watch the film, think about it, read the criticism of it, and write a review of it. Critical assessment of the film. Is it a good film or not, and why?